The Dallas Cowboys decided not to tender Brock Hoffman. Huh? We'll try to explain why next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. And on today's show, we're discussing Brock Hoffman not being tendered by the Dallas Cowboys. They had an opportunity to put the original round tender on him or the second round tender, which would have guaranteed him $5.8 million. Instead, they allow him to hit free agency, and he's probably gone. Why did they do this, Landon?
Well, I think they probably decided that they wanted to choose, right? They didn't want to pay both of these guys $5.8 million. You and I had discussed this on the show not too long ago, and I think we had decided that we probably would have gone the route of paying them both and maybe trying to trade one of them. I think that they may have figured that they might not have been able to handle that or to do that. Maybe. And they didn't want to be left on the hook for paying $10.6 million for two backup, interior offensive linemen. So I think ultimately they chose the correct player if they were going to tag one of the two. But I think, the other option would have been the original round tender, which I think would have paid him something like $3.5 million. And he was an undrafted free agent. So somebody would have definitely met that, and you would have lost.
The Cowboys would have had the opportunity to match, I believe.
But again, that's like going closer and closer to trying to get, pay another backup interior offensive lineman more than I think he probably would have made more than DJ Bass on the open market, don't you think?
Probably, just because the guys that are we'll talk about Bass in a second, but I think Bass is the better player. Yeah. Hoffman is the more versatile player, and teams will usually pay for the versatile guy that can play all three interior spots. I think one of two things happened. Actually, probably both of these. Number one, I don't think Hoffman was the best scheme fit for Klayton Adams because he usually wants bigger offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. Now, Hoffman played well last year for him, but I think he wants maybe to bring in some more bigger body types. But I think more than anything, I wonder if they're just doing this as a favor to Brock Hoffman, who is been around for a while. He's 26. They knew that he, at best was going to be their 7th offensive lineman. And rather than just trying to keep him on a 1-year, $3 million deal, they're letting him hit free agency where he can get a bigger contract and maybe the Cowboys can get a comp pick.
Well, and another reason not to go through the hassle of doing the original round tender and then kind of forcing, the deal making to go through them. Yeah, I agree. Like, he was a really good soldier. You didn't have to pay him very much, and you got more than your worth value out of him for sure. I think it is good play to just, help that guy's career. And again, I think everybody that has a Cowboy star on their jersey, who wears it on their hat as a fan, all of them would send nothing but well wishes to Brock Hoffman. We all loved him while he was here. I wanted to see him go make some money. It's just too bad that he couldn't come back and be a reliable backup for the Cowboys.
And one of the things that generally happens when you put these guys in the original round tenders is a lot of teams shy away from those players because they don't want to do all the legwork just for the original team to match it, right? And if the Cowboys knew that they weren't going to bring him back, it's better off just to take the tender off of him and to let him hit free agency. And now I think he's going to have a pretty robust market. I think he can be a starting center in the NFL. There's a lot of teams that have cap space and a lot of teams that need offensive linemen. I hope that he goes out and gets a big contract, gets a 2 or 3 year deal. We've seen plenty of other Cowboy offensive linemen like Connor Williams and Connor McGovern leave and have awesome careers. I hope that happens for Hoffman.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing these centers drop like flies out there too. Like you got one that's retired, you got another one that's getting cut, and this is going into what is not necessarily, which is going into what is not necessarily a super elite top end center group necessarily, unless you want to draft Spencer Fano to play center, which apparently some people are at least looking at, or at least seeing if he can play there. I think it's an interesting market for him. I think he's going to have lots of opportunity, and I really do hope he gets a big payday because he has absolutely worked for it and earned it.
All right, let's talk about TJ Bass, who the Cowboys decided to keep over Brock Hoffman. What made them come to that conclusion? We'll get to that next.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. March is a time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and to recognize just how much they carry at work, in relationships and families, and all of the unseen roles that they step into every single day. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's just as important to make space for their emotional well-being. And honestly, that goes for all of us. I think about my wife and how much she carries without always saying so. And it makes me think about how much of us are, or how many of us are doing the same thing, the roles we play, the expectations that we carry, the pressure that we don't always talk about. And therapy can help you through all of that, creating balance, setting healthy boundaries, and supporting your overall well-being. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works. Fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, you can move on at any time, because your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. A couple of real quick news items here, Landon. TJ Bass is the player that the Cowboys signed to a second-round tender. He'll technically be a free agent. He can go out and get another deal. I don't expect that to happen, but why do you think the Cowboys decided to keep Bass over Hoffman?
I think he's the better player at guard. And I don't think that they viewed Hoffman necessarily as someone who probably they want as a long-term answer at guard. I think he probably is a center only in this system. And I think so you lose a little bit of the versatility, and then it becomes about who's the better player. And I think TJ Bass currently is just a better player at guard. He's a little bit stronger. I think he moves folks a little bit more, especially in the run game. So I think they're probably equal in the pass. They're both pretty decent in pass protection. But I think for the Cowboys, they wanted to keep one of their strong interior offensive linemen because I think it gives them the opportunity, if they need to use Tyler Smith as a legitimate option as a backup tackle if they had to go that route. Right. I mean, they don't want to have to do that, I think. And Tyler Smith sure doesn't seemingly want to have to do that. But I think if you don't feel 100% about your backup left tackle, we'll see how that whole situation plays out and what kind of steps a guy like Nate Thomas takes over the offseason. But if you aren't feeling comfortable about it, or if there's another injury at the position, kicking Bass in at left guard gives you a starter quality guard, and then kicks Tyler Smith out to tackle and keeps another kind of starter level quality left tackle, which is a good solution to have in your back pocket.
Two things. I don't know who the backup center is right now. I'm assuming it's TJ Bass, and it's not a position that he's worked at a ton. But I also wonder, because this is a really good center draft, maybe the Cowboys are looking at center on day 3. We got to remember Cooper Beebe's going into the 3rd year of his contract. He's also had a hard time staying healthy. Don't be surprised if the Cowboys take a center a lot earlier in this draft than maybe most people anticipate. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is Reddy Stewart. The Cowboys brought him back. I believe he was an exclusive free agent, somebody that played in the slot last year. Do you think he fits Christian Parker's defense?
I think he's a little bit undersized, like we talked about, to play kind of the slot full time. But we saw him play outside as well. He showed some versatility, and he is an exclusive rights free agent, which means that it costs them like almost nothing to keep him. So
there's no downside.
Yeah, it's like that's the reason he's on the team, is that his contract is such and he's being paid so little that you're getting value for him because you're paying him almost nothing. And he's a guy who can, in a pinch, come in and play snaps for you if you need him to.
You also just need corners that are healthy right now with Deron Bland, still out. You've got, Savon Ravel still, recovering from the knee injury. It helps to have at least a couple guys that you can run practice with who've played meaningful snaps. I don't know if he's going to make the 53-man roster because I expect a lot of changeover at the position over the next 2 months, but we'll see.
He just sets a floor. I mean, he's just a guy that has NFL experience, playing, snaps at the position. I think right now, anybody that you can get out there,
literally anybody.
Until you refill the room, anybody that you can get out there is, I think, a nice one, especially again at a cost-controlled rate like you're getting in an exclusive rights free agent contract.
All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every single day. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Cowboys ad-free plus members-only Discord access and so much more. Head over to lockedoncowboys.supercast.com to join the club. And for those of you on video, we can send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel, and on audio, make your second listen the Locked On NFL podcast, a Locked On NFL and a Locked On NFL Draft podcast. Both are fantastic listens for this time of year. Go follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.